there are things that are seen, and then there are things that are otherwise invisible. And when it comes to weight, I'm going to say that weight is unseen. Weight is invisible. And let me explain what I mean by that. When you see a woman, and in this case, we're talking about a Black woman, you do not know how much she weighs. You can speculate how much you think she weighs, but you do not know her weight. And how often have we been, you tell someone your weight and they say, oh, you don't look like you weigh that much. Or maybe the reverse of that. So one of the things about, this question of do Black women care about their weight, you have to consider the fact that, again, weight is a number on the scale. It is virtually unknown unless you tell someone. But your shape, your size, those things are very visible. Whether you're a pear shape, an apple shape, or if you're an hourglass shape, those things are very visible. And then size, like if you're petite or if you're really tall or if you are, I guess, a little bit larger in stature, those things are also very visible. So one of the things I want to talk about in this video is how weight to Black women doesn't matter as much as shape and maybe to some extent as size, but more so shape. And of course, this doesn't apply to all Black women. I know that there are Black women who do care about their weight. But in terms of which one is most important, and it can get a little bit confusing because, you could go say to the doctor and the doctor can say, okay, well, you are overweight or obese or whatever for your height. However, within the context of the Black community, you could be celebrated for the way you look, right? Like people could actually celebrate your body. And so this is where health comes in because you always want to consider, okay, well, what is healthy? So, but that can get tricky, because I'll use myself as an example. For many years, I was a vegetarian. I, ate healthy, worked out, so forth. But so visibly, like when you saw me, you would assume that, oh, she's so healthy. And overall I was, but what people didn't realize is that I had some disordered eating behavior. So part of why I was so, I weighed less wasn't necessarily because I was being more healthy. It was actually because I was doing things that fall in the category of disordered eating. And I actually have a video about this. I did a live stream. If you're interested, I will link that at the end and I'll also put it in the description box. But so again, where it gets a little tricky as far as weight goes is being celebrated in one community, in this case, the Black community, for looking a certain way, and then going outside of the Black community and then being told that you're overweight or you're obese or whatever. So this is what Black women are up against. Another thing I want to bring into this conversation is fitness. And, I, read every comment on my last video. I'll also link that video, which is called When Black Women Gain Weight. And so, of course, diet and exercise is critical. I personally do not promote obesity. I don't promote, I'm very body positive, but at the same time, I understand that, body positivity can come with a negative side to it, which is people celebrating possibly unhealthy habits and so forth. But what I'm here to do is to highlight some of the discrepancies, some of the complexities that we don't often think about when we think about weight, whether it be weight loss or weight gain. And so when it comes to fitness, so of course, people say, well, just eat healthy, exercise. And if you're a curvier woman, if you're a woman in a curvier body type, this, the same thing is true. Eat healthy and exercise. But what I want to highlight is that, when it comes to exercise, and again, this is another thing about things being visible versus not visible. So you can exercise and be strong and active and healthy and people may not actually see your muscle tone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll use a Beyonce as an example. She's someone who clearly is very fit, active. I mean, we saw her documentary where she got back in shape after having twins. I don't recall ever seeing Beyonce with a six pack, you know, and I say that, and I don't know if that's her goal to have one, but my point is there's a lot of women who exercise, who work out, but they don't necessarily have the visible results of that. You know, not everyone is going to have Michelle Obama's arms. Even if you're Michelle Obama size, even if you do her same workout routine, it doesn't mean your arms are going to be bulging out with muscles. So I think that's something that we need to also consider, is that, you know, when people say, oh, well, just exercise, there is the visible muscle tone and you can see the muscles popping out and so forth. But then there's sort of the invisible, which is like women who are active and are healthy and work out regularly, you know, but you just may not see the physical manifestation. They may be healthy internally. They may be able to, like, for example, I'm into running and I can run about 3 miles, you know, without stopping. I bike, I swim, I, you know, exercise in the house with weights and stuff like that. But someone could look at me and assume that I don't do any of those things. So when it comes to having a curvier body type, though, oftentimes, you know, and I'm going to insert a clip either, I don't know, about here or in my next video, where I talk about like the downside to having a curvier body type. And one of those things being excess fat. And I already thought through, like, well, I know people are going to say, oh, we just work out. And then you can, you know, even if you have a curvier body type, you can get rid of the excess fat. But I think what's tricky is, again, you know, working out does not cure everything. One of the things working out doesn't cure is, like, for example, loose skin. So going back to the weight loss conversation, you know, there's Black women who lose a ton of weight, especially if they have some kind of surgery, like a bariatric surgery. And oftentimes that leads to more surgery because of the excess skin. Similarly, working out, or, you know, you can be active and you can exercise, but the average woman does not have the time to work out 2 to 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, most people do, you know, 30, 45 minutes at the most, 5 days a week. And that's even still pretty good. So the level of exercise and fitness that one would have to probably exhibit to have no fat at all on any other part of their body other than the desirable parts. You see what I'm saying? And so this is where it gets tricky. This is where surgery comes. This is where, you know, plastic surgery comes in, is because women want to keep the curves intact, but then you want to get rid of the fat on the other places. And the solution is not always, well, just go to the gym. You know, I know for me, I have various times in my life I have lost weight. And, you know, yeah, when you lose weight, you're going to lose. For me, when I lose weight everywhere. And so I lost some parts that I wanted to lose, but then I also lost parts that I didn't want to lose. So that happens too, you know? And so I do think it's complex, and I would like to sort of delve into that a little bit more. So just stay tuned here. I'm going to insert some clips with me outside at the park, because it was like a 77-degree day here in Maryland. And then I have some other treats for you within this video. So stay tuned. Not only weight, but also body shape and size. Because I think the conversation is deeper than just like, oh, you gained weight. And I said this in my previous video, but I think for Black women, there's more of a conversation of what shape are you, right? Like, are you an hourglass shape? Are you, you know, whatever, pear shape, apple shape, whatever. And I think that has a lot to do with the perception that folks have of one's weight gain. Is, what is your shape? And we know that people are constantly changing their shapes via surgery. And I'm not saying that Lauren London did this. I don't know. I do know that Lauren London, to my visible eyes, particularly in the movie, appeared to not carry any weight in her midsection. And as I said in my previous video, I think it's very interesting how celebrities, when they gain weight, they never have a stomach. So do whatever you want with that. I'm not saying Lauren London did anything, but I trust and believe if Lauren London had a gut, I would imagine that they would have probably told her to lose weight before she filmed You People. That's just my opinion. But I started thinking about, do black women really care about weight? Or do they care more about like their shape? What is the priority? And I've come to the conclusion that I think black women care more about their shape. I'm not going to go as far as say black women don't care about weight at all, but I do think that we care much less about weight. Like what the scale says means less to us than like how we look in the mirror, how we look in our clothes, that type of thing. And I'm going to use an example of an influencer. Her name is Rocky Giovanni. And she has a YouTube channel. I actually discovered her on YouTube. She also is on Instagram. And I actually like her YouTube content a little bit more than her Instagram content. But Rocky has been very open about her weight. Last time she had mentioned it, she said she was 260 pounds. And Rocky is, to be honest with you, in some ways, the prototype of what a lot of black women want to look like. Now, granted, Rocky may be a little bit, she's has some huge hips and a massive size, backside. So it may be a little bit more than what most black women want, but arguably, if the option was given, would you want to remain average looking? Okay, if this option was given to a black woman, would you want to remain average looking, or do you want to look like this, meaning like Rocky Giovanni? I would say some black women would choose to look like Miss Rocky Giovanni. And again, she is 260 pounds the last time she has announced her weight, because she's trying to lose weight. So she had a baby and she actually got all the way up to 300 pounds, and now she's down. But I suspect, based on her body shape and her size and things like that, she probably is not the type to get small. I think even for her, if she got to like 200 pounds, that would probably look quote unquote small on her. So that is sort of my point here, is that, again, I think it's more about, for black women, more about size, shape and size, more so shape. For those of you who have never struggled with weight, of course it is as simple as diet and exercise. But if it was that easy, why is this happening? And this? And what about this? My content is for people who want to go beneath the surface. I make videos about the things that black women don't say, our unique circumstances. We are judged on what is seen, but the unseen, invisible black woman is often misunderstood. Comments that try to minimize many of our concerns don't change my lived experience and the lived experience of other black women. We know the dominant narrative, which often does not have the average everyday black woman in mind. And what about the woman who wants to achieve her fitness goals naturally? Say someone I know who's not black and struggles with her weight. I just know that we used to talk about her weight, and one of the things that she would express is, how fat she thought she was. And I would always tell her, if you were black, you would not think you were fat. Like and in my mind, to me, she wasn't fat. She wasn't small either. To me, she was just an average size. But she would always talk about herself being so huge and, in various components, like how she couldn't do X, Y, and Z because of her size. She couldn't travel because of her size. You can't date because of your size. All these things you can't do because of your size. When I see her, I see someone who looks normal, like not too big, not too small. But then also in the black community, she actually would be considered small, but she thought she was big for her community. So that's, again, that's sort of like case in point examples of like the fact that my argument here is that black women care less about weight, more about shape. And,